Hi, this is Kirk, the bariatric carnivore. Look, my story is my story, frankly. Why should you care? I mean, it's kind of cool. You got a guy that's in his 50s that's no longer has to worry about being blind, becomes metabolically healthy, loses 100 pounds, gets off all of his medications, etc. Maybe that's a bit of an inspiration. Maybe that could be a help, and I'd share how I did it and what the things that I've learned. But ultimately, I'm an N of one. I mean, I've tried to systematically try things and record the results, and I pay attention. I try to keep it down to one variable at a time to see how things work, but I'm not perfect, and I'm not in a controlled laboratory experiment, and sometimes I go on, sometimes I go off, so it's not perfect, but it's an anecdotal experiment. It's a story. And a story is not data at the end of the day. Look, even if you have a large collection of stories and a bunch of anecdotes, a collection of stories and anecdotes is an anthology. It's not data. The problem is with a lot of nutritional stuff, it's darn difficult to get data unless somebody is willing to finance it. And frankly, there's not a lot of money in researching a diet that says quit eating everything but meat. Maybe you could convince the meat companies to do it, but I doubt it, because frankly, they're not in the business. They're going to sell meat. They don't really care about increasing market share. What they care about is they're investing money in terms of things that improve production. They're not really worried about their marketing side as much as you might think. So, there's just no money in doing a long-term study on does a carnivorous meat-based diet really work. So, what do? Well, frankly, what I do is, I look at the collection of stories to give me a clue. When a bunch of people eat nothing but meat for extended periods of time and their health improves, they lose weight, autoimmune issues go away, etc., those are a large collection of N of one experiments. An N of one experiment just means one person trying to do one variable at a time, and that's not a bad thing. So when you get a large collection of N of one experiments and they all have the same similar good result, that's a good reason to go ahead and try it for yourself, because other people are doing it and they're having benefit. Now, one of the reasons why I don't eat a vegan diet is there's been so many N of one experiments with people that have done vegan for extended periods of time. And I kind of know what some of the negative results are, because there's a lot of people that go vegan and initially they feel great. They'll feel good because they're getting off of the processed junk. They're getting sugar out of their system. They're eating whole foods and their body is getting more nutrition. And initially they're doing great, but see, what they forget is their body stores a lot of necessary vitamins and they live off those stores until they're depleted. And then usually about a year or two into this process, the health problems come. And there's so many anecdotal stories of people that were vegan for a while and then had mental health collapses. They got cold all the time. They had problems. Their bones became more brittle. Their hair started falling out in clumps, etc. That I'm not going vegan because I can see by their examples. They were the pioneers. They're the ones who took all the arrows. I realized that's got downsides. So there's some people that can live on a vegan diet and seem to do well on it, and I'm not going to besmirch them. If they want to live that way, that's more than fine with me. More the merrier. Knock yourself out. You're an adult, and you can make up your own decisions. As long as it's an adult making that decision. Kids should not be forced into vegan diets. I don't care what their parents believe. But that's the beauty of N of ones, is they give you good stories, and hopefully you can realize that there's some possibility that you can learn something from them and maybe apply it to your own life and try it out. Because ultimately, look, you're all alone in this. I mean, there's not going to be this great experiment that's going to show you how to eat properly. And frankly, I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all diet. We've all got to experiment. And frankly, when I was younger, when I was under 30, I could synthesize protein significantly better. I could eat a lot of things that I can't eat now because I've become more insulin sensitive. And I have to pay attention to things. I can't do carbs anymore. And processed food just immediately packs on pounds. It makes me feel horrible. And I've come to the realization, because carnivore is such an elimination diet, that when I add certain things back in, like particularly spinach for me for some reason, creates real problems. I feel almost hungover the next day after I have spinach. Am I saying that everybody is going to have a problem if they eat spinach? No, I'm not. I'm just saying I've become aware of the fact that now certain foods affect me in certain ways. And the more aware you are of it, the more you can cater your diet to you. But if you're still eating a standard American diet with lots of processed foods, it is difficult to help you figure out what is causing the problem. One of the reasons why I'm a big advocate for carnivore is that it helps you. It's a tool to eliminate everything else that might be causing problems. The things that may be causing the inflammation, the main things that may be causing irritable bowel, the things that may be causing you to not feel well in the morning and giving you brain fog and stuff like that, maybe even causing depression and mental health issues. If you eliminate all those, just eat pure food for a few months, then you kind of get cleaned out. Then if you add things in one at a time, you might discover that, oh shoot, it was the wheat, it was the corn, it was the sugar. And once you realize that, that empowers you. That changes the game. Now, there's a type of N of 1 experiment that you probably need to be aware of. And this is an important distinction. This is where we start to move from just a simple N of 1 collection of anecdotal stories, testimonials on websites and stuff like that, to something more serious. And that is what's called a case report. And this is where a doctor explains, hey, my patient did this and got this result. And when they start doing case reports, these are important. So there's a couple of different types of doctors out there. There are those that are more in the academy, and the academic doctors, and the people that actually do the big studies. And, they are the ones, when they produce a study that goes into a major medical journal or, scientific journal or something like that. These are mostly from academic institutions, and they're doing, controlled research, hopefully not just, looking at data sets, but, controlled experiments. Those are all in the academic studies. Then there's clinicians, and these are the doctors that I actually pay the most attention to, because these are people who are seeing patients, doing real life work with them. And when you think about what the word doctor means, it means teacher. And they are, a good teacher is not only teaching their students, but also learning from them. And when they see the patients do certain things and creating certain positive changes, and it's a little bit different than what you would expect, they'll write up a case report, sharing it with other clinicians. Hey, my patient did this and got this result. Anybody else have something similar? And that is a powerful tool, because those collections from medical professionals who are seeing specific changes often create huge signals to the rest of the medical community that this particular type of treatment, unconventional as it may be, seems to work. Is anybody else getting similar results? And when they get enough collections of these, that suddenly becomes a new standard. The problem is academics don't like them. They often poo-poo them. Oh, that's not a study, that's not science, that's just a case report. Then there's a guy like Dr. David Owen from the UK. He's a physician, in a very small community in England. He works for the National Health Service, and he's a general practitioner. And he got royally frustrated with how the treatment of type 2 diabetes was working. His patients were never getting better. They were only getting sicker. They were losing limbs. They're losing toes. Their quality of life declines over time, and they died prematurely. So he began to work with some of them to say, let's try this low-carb diet. And some of them started improving, and they quit needing insulin. Matter of fact, they quit needing to see him. So he started writing up case reports, and he wrote up a lot of case reports. I think in the neighborhood of hundreds of case reports. And he started to get people's attention with all of his individual case reports. And that, by the way, those take a lot of time to actually write one up and to make it official and to be able to share it with your peers. And initially it took a lot of flack for it. But boy, when you start to see hundreds of case reports of patients getting off of insulin, changing their health, not getting sick, but instead getting healthy and moving on, it's difficult to ignore. Yes, it's not scientific evidence, but it is certainly evidence and certainly gives a lot of people pause. And he has become kind of an icon in the low carb sphere for his courageous approach, standing up to authority. Now, why don't we see that in the United States? Well, because frankly, most of your doctors are not really independent doctors. They are actually corporate cogs. They're caught up in a healthcare system where they don't work for you, they work for a large corporation or a hospital. And as a result, they have a standard of care that they have to follow. And if they don't, and frankly, if they don't have that, then they have state medical boards. And the state medical board or a greedy trial lawyer will be saying, hey, you went against the standard of care and this person had a bad outcome, you're in trouble. You're going to lose your medical license, you're going to get sued, or you're going to be fired. And as a result, very few doctors are willing to go outside their standard of care, and they're not willing to write up case reports, and they're not going to be supportive of you when it comes to things that are outside the standard of care. Which, is why, when I quit drinking and got off my medications, my blood pressure went through the roof. I mean, it was bad. So bad that my family was very insistent that I go see somebody about getting it under control. So I went to go see a cardiologist, found an interventional cardiologist that was willing to work with me. And he worked for a major healthcare chain, and paid him cash, and he got me the drugs that I needed to lower my blood pressure, and which was fine, and part of the workup, he's kind of looked at it and said, oh, your cholesterol's too high, we're going to order you a statin. And frankly, I had no desire and would not and will not take a statin because I don't think it was warranted. In this particular case, I wasn't there presenting with chest pains or anything else. I'd never had a heart attack, and I didn't think I needed a statin, but I didn't fight him on it. I took the script. I never got it filled, but I took the script. Why? Because I knew who he was. He's a doctor that worked for a corporation, and the standard of care is if a guy comes in his mid-50s with high blood pressure and higher cholesterol than whatever the standards say it is, you need to give him a statin. And that's just the way it's going to be. But frankly, I've got I don't have to take it. You don't either. Just because they prescribe it to you doesn't mean you have to take it. And, but he's covered his butt. He is going to be able to keep his job with his boss. If I keeled over a heart attack, he can say I prescribed it. The idiot didn't take it. Okay, that's the way it is. I get it. They wasted a sheet of paper on me, but I'm not worried about it. So just because they prescribe it doesn't mean you have to take it. You can look at the collection of stories. Hopefully that will give you some inspiration, give you some direction. I think there's more than enough ample stories now that show that low carb, carnivore, keto, etc. works. It is improving people's health all over the place, which means that it's worthy of an experiment. Give it 90 days. Try it out. See if it clears you of all the things that are ailing you. it's kind of amazing, that so many people that I know that after they quit eating vegetable oils and they quit eating processed food can suddenly go out and play in the sun without tons of sunscreen. Now, do we have any proof that says that you become less photosensitive when you go carnivore and quit eating processed food? No, frankly, we don't. We've got a collection of anecdotal stories. But when you see enough of them, and I noticed it with myself, I was one of these guys that got badly sunburned in every March because I'd be outside wearing short sleeves for the first time and end up completely beet red and sunburned, just by being outside doing a little yard work for 45 minutes. Now I can take a walk at noon, just going down the street with no shirt on, and I don't get burned. Why? Frankly, I don't know. FM, freaking magic, things happen. But I'm not alone. And when I noticed this change, and I started poking around and said, does anybody else have this? Yeah, a lot of people in the low carb world have the same experience. So frankly, it shouldn't be particularly shocking to me, but it certainly makes sense. And those collections of stories help me make sense of what's going on. And the fact that when I woke up one morning and realized I didn't have to do a 5-minute stretch break just to get out of bed, that I feel really good. My joints don't ache, and then I look around and there's other people that have had the same experience. That makes sense. So keep sharing your stories. And if you've had positive experiences with changing to a low carb diet, please share them in the comment field down below. Give other people the encouragement that things do change when you try a low carb approach. And like and subscribe. Look, the way the algorithm works with YouTube is the more people that view videos and subscribe to the channel and hit likes and thumbs ups, etc., means that more people get to see it. So I hope you'll share this video with others, talk about it, and realize that, look, you're N of one. Your experience is your experience. It's not data. Having all your friends do something and having them have that experience is not data. But the combination of all of them should give you some clues as to what may work and what may not. It's not nothing. Your experiences and the experiences of others is not nothing. It is actually the beginning of what should be really good science. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I'll talk to you tomorrow.